It's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. I talk about Halloween H20 probably the most on this channel, so I think it's time for a little look back at a Halloween H20 retrospective. With the Halloween franchise going direct to video, life didn't look too good for Michael Myers. After the moderate success of Halloween 4, things were looking up, but with that success, a quick turnaround for an equally successful sequel was going to be hard. Along came Halloween 5, the beginning of a possible end to the franchise. After the failure of Halloween 5, Part 6 was shelved for 6 years. During that time, we had directors and writers come and go until we got Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. This entry was equally as bad as its predecessor and plummeted the franchise further down to the point where it was almost heading direct to video. But along came Jamie Lee Curtis. Although Halloween H20 wasn't her idea, she was fully on board with it. She even tried to get the old band back together, but John Carpenter stayed true to his word. He didn't want to direct another Halloween sequel. Even so, with the return of Jamie Lee Curtis, a Hollywood megastar returning, Halloween breathed a new life and was no longer heading straight to video. With the resurgence of the slasher movies, thanks to Scream, Halloween H20 was a major success, taking $55 million at the domestic box office and $20 million at the international box office on a $17 million budget. That's the equivalent of over $145 million today. But with a success comes a demand for unnecessary sequels. After the perfect ending to Halloween H20, Halloween Homecoming was announced, later to be called Halloween Resurrection, resulting in a bad taste in the Halloween fans' mouths once again. Halloween H20 was once considered the best sequel in the Halloween franchise, but over time, it has started to become the black sheep of the movies. It's become the go-to movie to bash. But the question is, why? Well, time apparently hasn't been kind to H20. Sometimes movies just date badly. But I'm here to tell you why this isn't true with Halloween H20. I'm here to tell you that H20 is the best sequel in the franchise. But before we begin, I must stress this is just my opinion, so don't go getting your feelings hurt if you disagree. And I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me on this one. After the events of Halloween 2, Laurie has rightfully moved away from Haddonfield and settled in California. She also changed her name to Carrie Tate so that her brother Michael, who's still missing, can't find her. She has a 17-year-old son, John, who's a student at a private school, Hillcrest Academy, that she's the principal teacher at. The father is out of the picture, but Laurie, aka Carrie, has a love interest. Guidance counsellor Will Brennan. He seems like a really nice guy.
I can't. I'm having my nipples pierced.
Oh.
Unfortunately for Laurie, Michael manages to find out where she is because he raided Marion Chambers' home for her file. Marion was Loomis's carer until he passed. A nice little tribute to two past characters for the intro of the movie. After locating Laurie, it was a fight to the death. Only one person was getting out of this alive. So what do people think doesn't work today? The biggest issue I see people complain about is the overall look of Michael and his many masks. I admit the constant mask changes can be off-putting, but it isn't make or break for the entire movie. The ugly, heavy-looking Curse of Michael Myers mask is only used at the beginning. There's a CGI mask used for one frame due to not being able to go back and reshoot that specific scene. And there's a bulb-shaped KNB mask used throughout the film. Ultimately, the fourth mask, the main mask, designed by the legend Stan Winston, was the winner. Not only was it best of the bunch, but it was the closest looking to the original up until this point, so I really don't get the hate for it. Some say the eye holes are too big and we can see Michael's eyes. We aren't supposed to see his eyes, people say. Well, why not? Because of the original? I'd agree with this if he was still supposed to be mysterious. In the original, we didn't know much about Michael or why he was obsessed with Laurie. That was the beauty of not seeing his eyes. And remember, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes line from Loomis is just a metaphor. He doesn't actually have the blackest eyes or the devil's eyes. Fast forward 20 years, we know so much about Michael now, who he is and why he's after Laurie. He's Laurie's brother, so why do we need to hide his eyes? If you ask me, if Michael and Laurie are coming face to face for the first time in 20 years, I want to see both of their reactions. You won't get much of a reaction from a guy with a mask on and the blackest eyes. I hear people say this version of Michael is too small to be convincing as the original Michael. This version of Michael is 4 inches taller than the original. I also believe that Michael is the closest in stature, speed and movement to the original. Thankfully, they removed the robotic Michael that was never present in the original, only in Halloween 2. That's a good choice. It copies Scream. Well, do you blame them? Scream originally took inspiration from Halloween, so why not allow Halloween to take inspiration from Scream? It was 1998, slasher movies were back with a bang thanks to Scream, so it was great to cash in on that success. Just 3 years prior to H2O, Halloween was about to go direct to VHS. Scream saved the Halloween franchise. Another big gripe about that type of slasher is people think H2O felt like a movie from 1998. I hate to break it to you, it was a movie from 1998. Also, it feels like Dawson's Creek. Dawson's Creek was created by Kevin Williamson, the writer of H2O, and it starred Michelle Williams, who happens to star in H2O. Also, Dawson's Creek came out in 1998, so I can see why people compare, but that's not a negative in my eyes, that's just facts. It's not set in Haddonfield. Well, if you were stalked and almost killed by your psycho brother and he disappeared, would you hang around and find out? No. You'd leave and probably change your name too. So naturally, this won't feel as Halloweeny as the first two movies. It had to sacrifice that for the sake of a realistic sequel. And I also disagree on missing that Midwestern feel. When Laurie goes out for lunch with Will, the street looked identical to the street in Halloween 4. Halloween H2O also had a really nice auburn autumn hue to it that helped with the Halloween vibe. The score copies Scream. It might sound like I'm making excuses for this, but it's a genuine excuse and a good one. John Ottman was brought on to score the movie, but after using it and testing it, they felt it didn't fit the theme of the film and it was too orchestral, but didn't have time to rescore it. So they had to use some of it and fill the rest with previously used Marco Beltrami's score that was used in films like Scream and The Faculty. That made sense since all the three movies had similar vibes. Personally, I would have stuck with the full John Ottman orchestral score because it felt elevated and final, just like the movie. It ignores some things from Halloween 2. Apart from ignoring most of the characters and stories from Halloween 4 to 6, and rightfully so, H2O also ignores some key elements to Halloween 2. Michael doesn't have any scars from the fire in Halloween 2, and he also has both of his eyes back, but how is that possible? Laurie shot his eyes out and he was burned. Well, the basic answer is movie logic. Without movie logic, Michael wouldn't feature in Halloween H2O. And we certainly wouldn't have a blind Michael Myers walking around, so for the sake of the film, some continuity had to be altered. By giving him his eyes back, it only made sense not to make him look like a burn victim either. Sure, John said you told me you watched him burn, but I don't think seeing or not seeing his scars was make or break for the film either. When it comes to actors and acting in the Halloween franchise, the only standout up until Halloween H2O was Donald Pleasence. Everyone else was mediocre at best, but along came Halloween H2O. We had Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, Adam Arkin, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and of course Jamie Lee Curtis. I think it's safe to say that Jamie Lee Curtis's acting improved from 1978 to 1998. When you look at where these actors are today, they are some of the cream of the crop, and it really showed that they were all destined for big things after 1998. Their performances as their characters were all fantastic and believable. They were also very grounded and relatable, especially Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. Jamie Lee is getting all the praise for her performances in David Gordon Green's trilogy, and rightfully so. She was great in those films, but her character was not as believable as it was in H2O. There was something about a woman 40 years later prepared like Sarah Connor that just felt a little bit too fake to me. Rewind back 20 years to 1998, we have a sister in hiding from her missing brother. She's scared and she's a borderline alcoholic. But as the movie goes on, she learns how to stand up for herself and fight back. That's the more relatable Laurie Strode. That's the more believable Laurie Strode. I honestly didn't realise that until seeing Halloween 2018. I thought I wanted 2018 Laurie that wasn't related to Michael, but after seeing what that would be like, I much preferred 1998 Laurie. There have been many ways in which Michael Myers has been killed off in the Halloween franchise, but none more epic than what happened in Halloween H2O. I think this is one opinion that most people share. Even before Halloween Ends came out, I was thinking, how are you going to top H2O? And the answer was, they can't. There was that 15 to 20 minute fight between Michael and Laurie when Laurie decided not to run anymore, right up until the epic moment she chopped his head off. We're obviously treating Halloween H2O as if Resurrection didn't exist, and it didn't in 1998 anyway. It's the perfect ending to what we would see as the finale of a trilogy in this timeline: Halloween, Halloween 2, and Halloween H2O. If I had any negatives for this film, it would have to be the short runtime. I don't mind short movies, but because I loved the film from start to finish, I was left wanting more. So you could say that that negative is actually a positive, but I had to give something. Halloween H20 is going to be a movie I will always defend. I grew up during that late 90s teen slasher phase, and now I see that phase as one of the most nostalgic in my time as a horror fan. It was that era that really drew me in, and because of this, I will always appreciate films like Halloween H20. I know it's not for everyone, but I feel it needs to be defended because the negatives I hear all the time are really all positives in my eyes. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for listening to my Halloween H20 retrospective. I hope you got something out of this video, and if it's changed your mind a little bit on Halloween H20, then I've done my job.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back!